Close your eyes for just a moment and listen closely, because what you're about to hear isn't just a message, it's a spiritual confrontation between what's been hidden in silence and what's just now been revealed in truth. There is someone, yes, the one whose soul has been tied to yours long before either of you had the language to describe it, who just uncovered something about you that changed everything, and what they've just realized has left them completely still. No more pretending, no more running, no more guessing games. Something about you that was always concealed is now seen. And they didn't hear it from someone else, they felt it, and once they did, they couldn't unfeel it. Your energy is no longer just a memory, it's become a mirror, one that's showing them everything they couldn't face before. And the moment this truth clicked, they weren't angry, they were shaken, because what they've just found out made them look at themselves, and now they're not sure if they were ever really ready for the kind of love you carried in silence. You see, beloved soul, you've been hiding something. Not out of fear, but out of sacred protection, a part of your heart, a wound, a gift, a knowing, something about you that felt too powerful to hand over to just anyone. And while the world might have seen the surface, you held the real treasure deep within your spirit. You didn't say much, you didn't beg for attention, but your silence was never empty. It was holy. And now, the very person who once thought they knew your story just discovered a truth that turned their entire perception inside out, and they're not running away from it. They're staring straight into it. And what they saw when they looked closer made them realize you were never hiding because you were afraid. You were hiding because you were divine. And now, they're wondering how they missed it. Their hands are trembling, not because of what you did, but because of what they didn't do. Because suddenly, all the moments they ignored, all the signs they brushed off, all the questions they never asked, you've now become the answer to all of them. And it's haunting them, but not in darkness, in clarity, in spiritual fire, because now they can see the light they once looked away from, and that light was you. What they found out is something you never said out loud, but your soul screamed it through your eyes every time you looked at them. And now they're remembering the way you paused before speaking, the way your energy always felt one step ahead, the way your love didn't beg to be received, it just was. And it's breaking them open, this revelation, because they now know you weren't just someone they liked. You were someone they underestimated, someone they tried to understand logically, while your entire being spoke in the language of spirit. So why now? Why did this truth reach them today? Because the veil is thinning, the energy around both of you is shifting, and heaven has decided no more hiding, no more half-truths, no more emotional delays. The divine has begun its sacred exposure, not to humiliate, but to awaken. And the first thing it revealed was the truth of who you really are. Not the version you watered down to fit into their world, not the mask you wore to avoid being rejected, but the truth that you carry a spiritual depth they weren't prepared to swim in until now. And suddenly, they're swimming in it, remembering things you said that never made sense until today. Remembering the moments when you pulled back, not because you were playing games, but because you were protecting what was sacred. And now as they sit in silence with what they've just discovered, they can't stop thinking, how did I not see it before? How could I have been standing that close to something so rare and still missed it? But they didn't miss it. They just weren't ready to receive it. And beloved, they're ready now. They're starting to feel it, not in their head, but in their chest. A pressure that's not pain, but prophecy. A knowing that's not mental, but magnetic. And they've begun to follow the pull, watching your energy from afar, asking questions, connecting dots, hearing your voice in places it doesn't belong. They thought they were over you. They thought they understood you, but what they just found out flipped the script entirely. And now your name has become a revelation. The angels are whispering, don't stop listening yet, because what they're about to realize next will shake the foundations of everything they once believed about this connection. And when they finally speak, they won't come with half-truths or vague apologies. They'll come trembling with reverence, because what they've now seen in you is something sacred, something that won't let them rest until it's honored, until it's met, until it's held with the kind of hands that don't drop what heaven designed. I felt this. If your soul already senses what they're waking up to, and stay right here, beloved, because what's coming next is the moment they realize they never really knew you. But now they're ready to learn, and something in their spirit cracked, not in anger, not in judgment, but in awe, because what they uncovered about you wasn't ugly, it was powerful. It wasn't betrayal, it was bravery. What they thought you were hiding was never meant to be a secret. It was something sacred, something not everyone deserved to know. A depth, a truth, a light that you protected because too many people in your past mishandled your vulnerability like it was a weapon. But now that your future spouse has seen it, truly seen it, they can't unsee the beauty of who you really are. And the truth they discovered is not pushing them away, it's pulling them closer. Because now they understand why you were quiet about certain things, why you kept your spiritual path so personal, why you never forced your truth into the room but waited for the right soul to recognize it on their own. And now, they're recognizing it. This line just hit your heart like thunder. They finally see you, not as a mystery, but as a miracle. They've been observing you from afar, trying to piece together the layers of you that never made sense from a surface view. And for a while they thought they knew who you were, based on whispers from others, fragments of past moments, and the silence you left behind. But something has shifted. A conversation, a shared story, a dream, something cracked open, the truth like sunlight breaking through a long-forgotten window. And when they looked into that truth, they saw not a version of you that disappointed them, but a version of you that stunned them. Because the story they'd been told didn't match the energy you carry. The narrative they believed was not even close to the depth of what's alive in your soul. What they discovered is that you were never hiding, you were healing, you were protecting, you were preserving the sacredness of your journey until the right heart could understand it without needing to fix it. And now, beloved, that heart is beginning to understand. They didn't know you had endured that much. They didn't know you walked through storms that would have broken others and still carried light in your hands like offerings for the world. They didn't know how many times you were the one holding space for others while your own heart was silently falling apart. They didn't know the silence you kept wasn't indifference. It was spiritual discipline. The way you protected your peace, your vision, your growth. They didn't know that what you were hiding was your becoming. And now that they see it, now that they feel it, they can't look at you the same way again. This isn't just admiration. This isn't just attraction. This is soul recognition. A kind of awakening that happens when someone realizes the person they were meant to build a future with has already been building themselves in private, quietly, authentically, without applause, without validation. Just you and your divine path, and now your light is undeniable. They're asking themselves, how did I miss this before? How did I stand that close to this kind of love and not know what I was touching? And that, dear one, is what has shaken them, because now they're the one who feels exposed. Now they're the one who realizes you were never the one who needed to be uncovered. You were always the one who was quietly watching, waiting to see who could hold your truth with reverence instead of fear. And they see it now. Oh, how they see it. They're sitting with this revelation now like it's a sacred scripture handed directly from the divine, too fragile to rush, too profound to ignore. Every part of them is beginning to tremble under the weight of what they once misunderstood. And for the first time, it's not you who feels exposed, it's them. Because as they uncover more of who you truly are, they're being forced to look at who they were when they had access to your heart and what they did with it. And it's humbling them. This isn't the type of clarity that sparks arrogance. It's the kind that silences the room. It's the kind that bends knees. Because now they're realizing they weren't just close to someone interesting, someone kind, someone they had chemistry with. They were standing in the presence of someone chosen, someone sent, someone who was living in alignment with a spiritual call long before they had the eyes to see it. And what they just found out? It made the noise in their life unbearable. The shallow conversations, the forced connections, the temporary highs. Nothing is hitting the same, not because they're broken, but because they've been reawakened. The lie they told themselves, that you were just a phase, just an intense connection, just someone they'd get over, has been ripped apart by truth. And the truth is, they never knew you. Not fully, not deeply, not the way you deserved. They were looking at you with human eyes, while your soul was speaking in divine language. They were hearing your words, but missing the meaning. But now they can hear the frequency behind every moment you went quiet. Every time you pulled back, every sacred part of yourself you never spoke of. It's not hidden anymore, it's echoing. And they're finally listening. They sat in that moment, the moment it clicked, with wide eyes and shaking hands. They remembered things you said months ago that didn't make sense at the time, things you posted, things you avoided, and all of a sudden it fell into place like puzzle pieces being arranged by the hand of God. You weren't avoiding them, you were protecting them. You weren't closed off, you were discerning. You weren't cold, you were cloaked in spiritual armor. And now that they understand, they can't stop thinking, obsessing, replaying, not in a toxic way, but in the way someone does when they've just stumbled into something holy and know they mishandled it the first time, and now they're ashamed. Not of you, but of themselves, not in the way that leads to hiding, but in the way that inspires transformation, because they know now the way they showed up before wasn't enough for who you are now, and they're not just trying to get you back. They're trying to become someone who can stand beside you without shrinking your light. They've started making changes, real ones, detaching from energy that kept them distracted, saying no to dynamics that fed their ego but starved their spirit. Journaling, praying, walking in nature, feeling everything instead of numbing. And your energy has been guiding that shift. without you even speaking, you're still showing them the way. And maybe they haven't messaged yet. Maybe they haven't reached out. But don't let the silence fool you. They're not distant because they're indifferent. They're distant because they're in awe. They're grieving the version of you they never honored. They're facing the mirror of who they were when they lost access to your soul. And they're asking the divine, can I still be received? Have I grown enough to be seen by them again? And the answer the angels keep whispering is not yes or no, but prepare. Because when they come forward this time, it won't be flirty, it won't be vague, it won't be breadcrumbing, it will be real. Their words will carry weight, their voice will carry prayer, their eyes will carry the evidence of nights spent in regret and longing. They won't approach you the same, because they don't see you the same. They don't see you as a missed opportunity anymore. They see you as prophecy fulfilled, as the answer to a question they were too immature to ask the first time. And what they found out about you, the truth they just uncovered, it wasn't from the world. It was from the divine. Something was shown to them in a vision, a dream, a sudden knowing that bypassed their logic and went straight into their chest. They saw you holding light. They saw you touching lives. They saw your strength wrapped in softness, your silence wrapped in power. They saw what you never said, and now they're beginning to understand what your silence was actually saying all along. I'm not here to beg, I'm here to be. And if you can't see me now, I'll keep growing until you do, and beloved, they do. Finally, they're walking through an internal death, not a literal one, but a death of illusion, a death of ego, a death of the part of them that thought they needed control to be safe. And in that death, something is being born, a new version of them, a spiritually alert version. One that's no longer driven by fear or validation. One that's not looking for just someone to share a bed with, but someone to share a purpose with. And they know that person is you. They've had moments recently, while brushing their teeth, while scrolling at 1 a.m., while passing by a scent in a store, where your energy hit them so hard they had to sit down. Tears welled up without warning. Their body ached for you. Not physically, but spiritually. Their chest tightened with that terrible, beautiful ache that only comes when the soul realizes what it's been longing for has a name, has a face, has a destiny, and it's you. And you've been feeling it too, haven't you? The restless nights, the sudden floods of emotion, the feeling that something is about to shift, but you can't quite name it. That's not anxiety. That's spiritual preparation. Heaven is aligning the next step. The timelines are merging, the soul contract is calling to be fulfilled. And every single time you think of them recently, it's not just you thinking, it's them pulling. It's their soul reaching for yours in the quiet. It's the divine rehearsing your reunion before it arrives in the physical. So, if the silence stretches a little longer, don't panic. It's not a delay. It's an alignment. The universe is moving people, clearing timelines, shifting the terrain, so that when they do come forward, there will be no more obstacles, no more third-party energy, no more guessing, no more confusion, just two souls standing in front of each other, saying, I see you now. I see what I couldn't before. I'm here not to rewrite the past, but to build a future from truth. And when they do speak, when that call or message or visit finally comes, you won't be shocked by their words. You'll recognize them, because you already heard them in your spirit long before they said them with their mouth. That's the nature of divine love. It speaks in the soul before it speaks in the air. And right now, their soul is louder than it's ever been. So take heart, beloved. The truth has been revealed, not just to them, but to you. The connection is alive. Magnetism is increasing, the reunion is unfolding, and the person who once couldn't face what you carried is now building themselves to hold it, not out of desire, but out of devotion. And they're not telling anyone about what they found out, not because it's a secret, but because it's sacred. There's a difference. They've realized now that not every truth needs to be spoken out loud for it to transform a life. Sometimes just knowing something changes the course of your soul. And that's what this is not just information they uncovered. It's illumination, a spotlight turned inward. A divine spotlight that is showing them everything they missed. Not about you, but about themselves. About what they weren't ready to receive. About why their hands shook when they touched your presence the first time. About why they pulled away from something that felt too good to be explainable. And now, they're not trying to explain it, they're trying to honor it. The old version of them would have denied it. They would have said, it's just in my head, I'll get over it. But that voice is gone now. Their higher self has taken the wheel, and their spirit is calling to yours in a language that doesn't use words. They're sitting in stillness more now. Walking away from noise, choosing solitude over stimulation, not to run from life, but to prepare for what's coming for you. They don't want to come back as a mess. They don't want to return with a shaky voice and shallow promises. They want to stand in front of you with eyes that don't blink and hands that don't drop the sacred. And they know you won't believe words alone anymore. You've evolved past sweet phrases and vague I miss you messages. You don't want intensity. You want integrity. You don't want butterflies. You want bricks. And they feel that. They know that. They're not just preparing to speak. They're preparing to show up fully as someone who can handle your heart without trembling. As someone who doesn't flinch when your soul shows its depth. Because now they realize loving you requires presence, requires healing, requires courage. And they're finally asking the question they avoided for so long. Am I brave enough now? They don't want to lose you again. And it's not desperation, it's destiny. There's a difference. Desperation clings. Destiny aligns. And right now, their energy is moving in ways they never expected. They're drawn to places you once went. Music you once loved. Foods you once shared. They're picking up on signs from the universe that feel too specific to ignore. Names in places where your name shouldn't appear. Repeating numbers. Dreams that feel more like memories. Everything in their world is echoing you, not as a ghost, but as a guide. And your face haunts them, but not in pain. In clarity, in closure, in full circle energy. They see your strength now and wonder how they ever thought you were fragile. They see your quiet and wonder how they ever thought you were distant. They're realizing they didn't know what to do with the depth you offered, so they called it too much. But you were never too much. You were simply not meant to be handled by someone half awake. But now, they're awake, slowly, painfully, beautifully. They're awakening into the truth that what they pushed away was never overwhelming. It was expansive. It was generous. It was love in its truest form, and their spirit knows now. They will not find this again. Not in anyone. Not in anything. What you offered was rare. And it wasn't just romantic. It was redemptive. It called them higher. It called them home. And now they're craving that call more than ever. They're not ready yet, but they're getting ready. That's important to understand. Their spirit is in motion. They're doing the work. They're feeling the discomfort of growth. They're shedding layers of ego like old skin they no longer want to wear. And every time they feel the ache of your memory, instead of pushing it down, they sit with it. They ask it what it wants. And the answer keeps coming back the same. Go back. But go back different. Go back healed. And that's what they're aiming for now. They're not stalking you. They're studying you. Not in a creepy way, in a reverent one. They're trying to understand what your energy is saying now. If your heart is still open, if your soul still remembers them, and every now and then they think they feel it, a flicker, a pull, a moment of synchronicity that makes their chest tighten, and in that moment they pray, not always out loud, but in that deep, wordless way the soul does when it's reaching beyond time. They're not watching you with envy. They're watching you with reverence, because now they see you as someone they're not trying to impress, but someone they're trying to honor. That's a massive shift. The energy is no longer about possession. It's about presence. It's about showing up not to fix you, but to reflect you. To reflect the growth, the pain, the beauty, the resilience. They want to mirror it now. They want to walk beside it. They want to earn a place in your space again, not through guilt, but through growth. And their entire being is preparing for it. They're asking hard questions now, deep ones they used to avoid. Like, why did I really leave? Why did I act like I didn't care when I was dying inside? Why did I pretend they were replaceable when I knew they weren't? And those answers are showing up in waves. Not all at once, but in patterns, in triggers, in random moments when they're hit with emotions so raw they have to pull over the car, or cancel a night out, or go home early just to cry on the floor. They're feeling it now, not just for you, but for the version of themselves they betrayed. Because you weren't the only one they left behind. They left behind the version of them who believed in magic, who wanted real connection, who trusted love could be safe. And now, they're trying to find that part again, and the only way they know how is to come back to the last place they saw it with you. But this time, they're not bringing drama, they're bringing devotion. Not confusion, but confession. Not tension, but truth. And you'll feel it, not in their words, but in their energy, in the way they slow down when they speak to you, in the way they don't interrupt you anymore, in the way they listen, not just with their ears, but with their heart. They'll talk about things they never talked about. They'll cry in front of you. They'll admit they were scared. They'll tell you they pushed you away because you were too important. They'll say, I didn't want to ruin you by loving you wrong, and for once, you'll believe them. Not because you want to, but because they'll be telling the truth. Because when real healing happens, it shows. You won't need to decode it. It will feel different. They're not there yet, but they're almost there. And the divine is walking with them now, hand in hand, whispering, you know where your peace lives. Go to it, and this time stay. And so now they rise, not physically just yet, but spiritually, from the old identity that could not carry what you offered, from the shallow definitions of love they once clung to like armor. Something inside them is being reborn. And it's not fast, it's not flashy, it's holy, it's quiet. It's happening in the midnight hours when the world goes still and the soul has no more excuses to run. It's happening when they replay the words you never said but always lived. The way you honored love without demanding it. The way you chose peace even while they stirred chaos. The way you remained rooted even when they tried to shake you off. That strength? They didn't understand it before, but now it's the very thing they're trying to build within themselves. And every step they take toward becoming that version, the version that could actually walk beside you and not behind you, it's being blessed by heaven. They've stopped asking, do they still think of me? And started asking, am I ready to meet them? Without hiding, because that's the shift. That's the work. This is no longer about nostalgia. It's about initiation. The journey from who they were to who they're becoming. The road that began the moment they found out the truth you were carrying all along. Not a truth of betrayal, but a truth of purpose, a truth of vision, a truth of destiny. And now, they want to be part of it, not to take from it, but to serve it. They know now they can't return with half effort. They can't show up and ask you to water down your spirit again. Because your path isn't ordinary. And your heart is no longer soft just for anyone. It's soft for the sacred. And they've seen that now. The sacredness in you. The divine whisper that lives in your voice. The prayer that hides in your presence. They used to call it mystery. Now they call it miracle. Because the person they thought they knew was just a glimpse of who you were becoming. And the person they're feeling now, the person they're dreaming about, that's your higher self. And it's calling to theirs. They've felt that pull in places they didn't expect. While laughing with friends but feeling the hollowness beneath it, while walking through crowds and still feeling alone, while hearing love songs they never listened to before, suddenly realizing every lyric feels like a memory they haven't made yet, but no, they're supposed to. And every time it happens, your name rises in their spirit like a fire they can't put out. They try to distract themselves, they try to pretend, but their soul won't let them. Because this isn't about desire anymore. It's about destiny. They've begun speaking differently. To themselves, to others. The bitterness has started to fade. The sarcasm that used to mask their fear is falling apart. They've stopped telling themselves that you were too intense or it wasn't the right time. Now they're saying, I wasn't brave. I wasn't honest. I wasn't ready. And that honesty is transforming them. It's rewiring their inner world. They're not just healing from the pain of losing you. They're healing the part of themselves that was never allowed to believe they could hold something sacred and not destroy it. Because what they're seeing now is that your love wasn't scary. Their avoidance was. Your stillness wasn't intimidating. Their chaos was. Your wisdom wasn't overwhelming. Their immaturity was. And now that the scales have fallen from their eyes, they're not seeing you through the lens of fear. They're seeing you through the lens of grace. And grace changes everything. They've begun writing letters they never send. Drafting messages and deleting them. Practicing what they'll say in the mirror. I'm sorry I left when you needed me. I was scared of how deeply I felt you. You were right. I wasn't ready for something real. They're trying to get it right, not perfect, just true. because they know they only have one chance to say what they've been holding in their chest for too long. And when they do speak, it won't be to impress you. It'll be to free both of you. And this time, they're not expecting you to wait. They are not entitled to your forgiveness. They're just hoping your spirit will recognize the shift, hoping your heart will remember the connection beneath the pain, hoping that when their energy knocks on your door, your intuition will open it, not because you're desperate, but because you've discerned, because the timing has matured, because the soil is finally ready to grow what was once planted in fear, because this isn't about going back, this is about going forward. With truth, with reverence, with spiritual memory, the kind of memory that doesn't live in the mind but in the bones, the kind of memory that says, I know you, I always did, even when I didn't know myself. And beloved, your angels have seen this. They've been watching both of you, silently guiding, gently separating, lovingly preparing not to punish either of you, but to purify the love that was always meant to be. The delay wasn't denial, it was a detox of ego, of pride, of illusions. So that when the two of you meet again, it's not a repeat of the past, it's a recognition of the future. And it's coming not with a loud entrance, but with a peace that doesn't ask for proof. A quiet confidence that speaks through presence, not promises. They'll look at you with eyes that don't need to beg anymore, because this time, they'll have already chosen you in the spirit long before they showed up in the physical. And when they speak, your body will know. Not just your mind, not just your ears, but your body. The way it relaxes when someone tells the truth. The way it sighs when the energy feels safe. You won't need to ask for reassurance. You'll feel it in how they show up. And you'll know this isn't a second chance. This is a sacred beginning. They'll talk about the things they avoided before, the parts of their life they kept hidden, the wounds they once blamed on others, but now take responsibility for. They'll admit they looked for you in other people, and that no one, no matter how kind, how pretty, how successful, no one ever made them feel the way you did, just by being in the same room. They'll tell you about the moment it all clicked, the moment they found out what you were hiding, not in shame, but in sacred silence, that your strength wasn't an act, it was earned, that your glow wasn't vanity, it was resurrection. And they'll thank you not for staying, but for growing, for healing, for choosing your path even when it meant walking away from them, for loving them without conditions, or releasing them when they weren't ready, for being the one who didn't just want love, but embodied it. And they'll say, I see it now. I see you now, and I'm ready. Not for a perfect love, but for a real one, if you'll have me. And in that moment, the divine will lean in, because this is the part where everything changes. And now something rare is beginning to happen, not in conversation, not in words, but in spirit. You are both starting to feel the same emotions at the same time, across time zones, across timelines. Without even knowing why, your body and their body are reacting in synchrony. You feel waves of emotion out of nowhere. They dream about you on nights when you wake up unable to breathe. You light a candle in silence, and they feel warmth pass across their chest. This is no longer about one person chasing and the other running. This is soul merging, a reunion that is already happening in the unseen before the physical ever catches up, because the divine works in echoes first. in small vibrations, in spiritual rehearsals that don't always make sense to the human mind. And right now they are dreaming of you. Not just random dreams, but recurring, symbolic, deeply emotional dreams. Dreams that wake them in the middle of the night with tears in their eyes and your name on their lip. Dreams where they hold your hand again and feel the safety they thought they could live without. Dreams where you are standing still, saying nothing, and yet saying everything. And when they wake up, they feel it in their chest. That pull, that grief, that divine ache that says, this is not finished. They're not telling anyone about these dreams, not their friends, not their family, not even themselves some mornings, because they don't want to ruin it by explaining it. They don't want to water it down with logic. They know what it means, and it terrifies them, because it means they didn't move on. It means you never left. It means that all this time, while they tried to replace you, they were really just trying to outrun a connection that was spiritually sealed. And now, they can't outrun it anymore. They're seeing signs in places they never expected. Your birth date on receipts, your initials on license plates, your favorite songs playing on shuffle when they haven't listened to that genre in months. Conversations that sound like ones you once had. People they just met, saying the same phrases you used to say, and every time it happens, they freeze. Because it's not subtle anymore, it's loud. The universe is no longer whispering, it's shouting, and the message is clear. You didn't lose them. You left too early, but now you're being given the chance to return with truth. But here's what they're also starting to see. This reunion is not guaranteed. It's divinely designed, but it's not automatically handed over. It requires them to rise, and meet you at the level you've been evolving to. You are no longer the same. You've outgrown the version of them who couldn't hold your truth, and that's why they're shaking inside now. Not because they're unsure if they still love you, but because they're unsure if you'll still be able to love them. Because now they're not afraid of your strength. They're afraid they waited too long. That you've healed so much, grown so much, ascended so much, that you no longer want what once hurt you. And the irony is, they're right. You don't want what you had. You don't want the love that came half-formed and full of excuses. You don't want apologies soaked in old habits. You don't want emotion that vanishes when things get uncomfortable. You don't want words anymore. You want frequency, consistency, realness. And they feel that. It's what's been driving them to change, not to win you, but to become someone who could even stand in your presence without trembling. So come to Timis. They're starting to learn what it means to carry emotional responsibility, to communicate without manipulation, to love without control, to open their chest without expecting you to heal what they've never faced. And that process, it's painful, but it's holy. They've been triggered lately, triggered by the same things that once made them run. A tone of voice, a certain question, a moment of silence they couldn't decode. But instead of projecting blame like they used to, they're sitting with it now. They're journaling, asking deeper questions, getting help, listening to podcasts, watching videos about spiritual awakening, crying when no one's around, admitting to themselves in private that they miss you, not just as a person, but as a presence, as an energy, as a mirror, because that's what you were, a mirror. You showed them who they were when they weren't pretending. You saw their essence when they were hiding. You touched the part of them they had locked away since childhood, and when you walked away, it didn't just leave a romantic void. It left a spiritual crack, one that now refuses to stay closed. And now even the people around them are starting to notice. You've been quiet lately. Something's changed. You seem different. And they don't have the words to explain it, because how do you explain to someone that your soul is screaming for someone who's not in the room? How do you explain that you saw someone's eyes once and they've been haunting your dreams ever since? How do you explain that you found love that didn't make you feel high, it made you feel home, and you left it because you were afraid of the quiet? They're coming to terms with it now, that you were peace, not pressure, that your silence was sanctuary, not distance, that your love was prophetic, not problematic, and for the first time, they're not trying to deny that anymore. They're letting it break them, letting it soften them, letting it take away the arrogance that said they'd find another you, because they haven't, and they won't, and maybe they haven't spoken to you, but they've spoken about you, to God, to the universe, to their ancestors, in their pillow, in their car, in their soul, words like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't ready, I didn't know how to love someone who wasn't playing games, I thought I needed attention, but now I just want peace," and they were peace. And the divine has heard that. That's why the signs are increasing. That's why their body reacts every time they think of you. That's why your energy is showing up around them more and more, even when they're not trying to think of you. It's because a timeline is opening, one that was always written, but now it's being activated, and you feel it too, don't you? You've been sensing something is coming. Your energy feels unsettled, not in fear but in movement. Your emotions rise randomly. You hear their name and your breath catches. You think of them and suddenly feel tears for no reason. That's not regression. That's resonance. That's the soul remembering the sound of a door unlocking that's been closed for too long. They are standing in front of that door now, not physically, spiritually. Their hand is on the knob. And they're not asking, will they take me back? They're asking, am I brave enough to knock? Not as the person they lost, but as the person I've become. And the answer, beloved, is coming. It won't be loud, it won't be rushed, but it will be real. And now, every part of their life that once felt exciting feels hollow. It's as if the colors have drained from everything they used to chase. The parties don't hit the same. The people they once entertained feel shallow. The things they used to laugh about now seem empty. It's not that the world has changed. It's that they have. The illusion has cracked, and in its place stands a truth so undeniable that they've stopped fighting it. They've stopped telling themselves to move on because their soul won't let them. Not because they're obsessed, not because they're stuck, but because they've seen something they can't unsee now. You were the one, not in some fairy tale sense, but in the deeply spiritual soul contract, lifetime over lifetime mirror of my truth sense. And now, they walk through their days with the ache of that awareness sitting behind their eyes. They don't say your name out loud anymore, not because it doesn't matter, but because it matters too much. It feels sacred now, like a prayer. They're not yet worthy to speak, and that realization is shifting everything. They're not just thinking about you, they're making room for you. In their decisions, in their conversations, in their environment. Slowly, quietly, they're changing things, rearranging the energy around them, closing doors they once left open to temporary people, letting go of dynamics that once felt safe but now feel stifling. They're beginning to understand something they never could before. Not everyone can hold what you carry, and if they want to be near that energy again, they have to become someone who can, and they're not doing it for you. That's the most powerful part. They're doing it because their soul is finally waking up. The flame that once flickered when you entered their life is burning now, and it's not burning out of desire, but out of direction. Your presence planted something in them they didn't even realize was growing, and now every step they take is guided by that inner fire, not because they're trying to get you back, but because they're trying to get themselves back. The version of them that smiled differently around you, that breathed differently in your presence, that dreamed bigger because they felt seen. And they know now. They lost you because they didn't know how to hold that version of themselves. But this time, they're determined not to lose that part again. They're spending more time in reflection now, not scrolling, not distracting, just sitting, listening, feeling. They think about the way you held space, the way you didn't interrupt, the way you could sit in silence with them and somehow make it feel like the safest sound in the world. They remember how your energy didn't try to fix them. It just witnessed them, and they ache for that kind of love now. A love that doesn't demand, a love that doesn't need a performance, a love that isn't loud, but lasting. They've started imagining what it would feel like to be in your presence again, not in fantasy, but in grounded awareness. They imagine sitting beside you, this time with no masks, looking you in the eye and not needing to prove anything. Just breathing, just being. They imagine telling you what they've never told anyone, not because you ask, but because their soul finally feels safe enough to share. And every time they picture it, their eyes fill, not from sadness, but from relief, because for the first time, they're realizing something that was too big to see when you were right in front of them. You were home, and they left. And now the longing is not just for you. It's for that feeling, the groundedness, the sacredness. The way the world slowed down when you were near. The way their nervous system calmed without explanation. The way their heart spoke truths their mouth wasn't brave enough to voice. They thought they could replace that, but now they know they didn't lose a person, they lost a portal, a door to the version of themselves that they were always meant to become. And now they're knocking on that door in spirit every day, with every shift they make, every truth they admit, every tear they cry in silence, every moment they resist going back to their old ways. That's them, knocking, and the loved. You feel it, don't you? The way your heart starts racing for no reason. The way your body knows when they're thinking of you. The way their energy shows up in your dreams, not as a ghost, but as a presence. Something is moving. Something is aligning. You can feel the timeline starting to wrap back around each other. It's not just memory anymore. It's manifestation. It's what happens when two people who were always meant to meet again start preparing for that meeting without saying a word. And the angels are watching, smiling, whispering to both of you, keep going. You're closer than you think. Your person has started asking questions they never dared ask before. What if they're better off without me? What if I broke something that can't be healed? What if they don't want to hear from me? And for a moment, that fear silences them. But then, something deeper rises. A whisper. pull, a knowing that says, but what if they do? What if they're waiting, not for the past version of me, but for the one I'm becoming? And that question keeps them moving. It keeps them believing. It keeps them preparing, because this time, they don't want to come in halfway. They don't want to arrive with empty hands and trembling lips. They want to come with evidence of growth, of accountability, of inner work. They want to stand in front of you and say, look, I didn't just miss you. I rebuilt myself for you, for us, for the love I didn't know how to carry before. And when they say it, it won't be rehearsed, it will be real, it will be slow, and it will be everything. And beloved, you won't need to question their energy. You'll feel the difference immediately. The way their eyes don't dart around the room anymore, the way their hands don't fidget, the way they sit still in front of you, calm in their chest, steady in their spirit. They won't need to convince you with eloquence. Their peace will speak louder than any promise. Their presence will tell you everything, because by the time they return, you won't be the same either. You will have learned how to be whole without them, how to love without clinging, how to speak without fear, how to hold space without draining yourself. And they will see it, and they will honor it. They'll see that the version of you who once cried into the pillow at 3 a.m. has turned into the version who smiles in stillness, knowing that the divine always brings back what's aligned when it's ready, and now it's almost ready. Everything is converging, the prayers, the dreams, the inner work, the angelic timing, the shifts, the signs, the sacred silence, the karmic clearing. All of it is preparing the way. And soon, so soon, the moment will arrive. The moment they reach out, the moment your phone lights up, the moment you hear your name spoken with reverence instead of hesitation. And when it comes, you won't panic, you won't doubt, you'll breathe deeply, fully, gratefully, because you'll know this was the moment your spirit always knew would return. And beloved, it's almost here. So, take a deep breath now, beloved soul. Not a shallow one, but a deep, sacred inhale that reaches all the way down into the parts of you that have been quietly waiting for this confirmation. Because what you've just received is not simply a message, it's a remembering, a divine reflection, a holy echo of something your spirit already knew but needed to hear again. This connection you felt so deeply, it wasn't imagined. It wasn't one-sided. It wasn't lost. It has been moving, healing, breaking, reshaping, and now it is finally beginning to return, not in the form of what was, but in the form of what was always meant to become. You were not sent into their life to be forgotten. You were sent to awaken, to mirror, to ignite the remembrance of a kind of love that doesn't fade under pressure, but transforms everything it touches. You did that with your silence, with your growth, with your willingness to walk away from what wasn't ready. And now, the one who once couldn't face their own truth is being led back to yours. Because your love wasn't loud, it was lasting. And that kind of love, doesn't disappear. It deepens. So as the days unfold, let yourself stay open, not because you're waiting, but because you're ready. Ready to receive only what is aligned, ready to discern the energy, not just the effort, ready to welcome what is holy, what is real, and what has been spiritually refined before ever reaching your door again. Because now, your heart knows the difference between chaos and connection, between longing and alignment, between almost and already, and beloved. It is already happening. So if this message stirred your spirit, if it made your heart ache in that sacred, quiet way only soul truths can, I invite you to take a moment right now, yes, right now, and let the angels know you received it. Type in the comments, I welcome what's divinely aligned for me. Let that declaration become your anchor, your energetic agreement, your holy yes to everything that has been moving toward you in the unseen. And if this message brought you peace, if it gave you clarity, hope, or even permission to breathe deeper again, I lovingly ask you to tap the like button so it may reach the heart of someone else who's been quietly praying for a word like this. If you feel called to help this sacred space grow, to support the creation of more messages like this, know that even the smallest gesture is seen and cherished. Whether through a kind comment, a private prayer, or a heartfelt offering like a super thanks, your light adds to this mission of healing. And if your soul wants to keep receiving messages like this, gentle, prophetic, angelic whispers deliver straight to your heart, then please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, not just so you don't miss a video, but so you never miss a moment when the divine is trying to reach you. You are not walking alone, dear one. You are being guided, watched over, surrounded by an army of angels who have been with you through every silent breakdown, every whispered prayer, every step you took forward, even when your heart was still breaking. And they want you to know you're not late. You're not forgotten. You're not too much. You are right on time, standing in the center of your divine becoming. So breathe again. Release the fear. Release the need to know how it will all unfold. The message has been delivered. The soul has been stirred. And the love that left in confusion is returning in clarity. We will meet again in the next message, dear soul. Until then, keep your heart open, your boundaries strong, your energy protected, and your faith quietly blazing. You are being prepared for something sacred. Like, subscribe, share this with someone you know needs a sign, click the bell. And if your heart feels called, offer a super thanks. Every act of love ripples beyond what the eye can see. You are loved. You are seen. You are not waiting. You are receiving. Until next time, may the angels walk beside you, whispering light, guiding your steps, and cradling your soul in eternal grace.